All right, so I love the title of this. It is the Manitoba Mucklucks Story Boot School. I had to look down at my notes for that. I would have never been able to remember that. With us right now, the director of this very cool event is Wennique Horn-Miller. How are you?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm good. So obviously, like, we're talking mucklucks here, which is cool. And a muckluck is?
A muckluck is, well, we brought a muckluck so everybody can know. A muckluck is basically the footwear in which like Indigenous people and specifically like northern communities use to survive. You know, it's generally made from either caribou or deer or moose, and it's from like brain tan smoked hide. So brain tanning is basically they use the brain of the animal to make the hide soft and stay soft, and then they smoke it over a fire to keep it soft, and it gives it that nice, beautiful tanned look, and then they make a beautiful pair of mucklucks out of it.
Okay, so what's happening here is it the Bata Shoe Museum in Toronto where where did this originate? What you're doing?
The Story Boot School originated from our head office. So Manitoba Mucklucks is headquartered in Winnipeg, and our owner Sean McCormick, one of his passions and reasons for starting the whole company was to ensure that the traditional art form of muckluck making like these is kept alive and is made the same way 500 years from now. So he started the first school in the boardroom at the factory, and last year we launched nationally. We had them in Montreal, Ottawa, Toronto, Vancouver, and then we were noticed by the Treadwright Foundation, and they wanted to support a semi-permanent school at the Bata Shoe Museum.
Okay, so tell us about the Treadwright Foundation then.
So the Treadwright Foundation is this heritage grant that they're giving us is it's basically to ensure that that these art forms aren't lost. They are a part of the travel corporation, and they offset sort of the impact of travel by supporting cultural preservation initiatives.
Okay, so they're obviously on board with what you do. They saw the importance here. Now, is there a fear within yourself that this tradition will disappear if it wasn't for organizations like yours?
Well, the thing is that culture will not continue to survive unless it's practiced. And what has happened to many Indigenous practices is through things like residential school and the 60s scoop and those type of things. There was not a knowledge transfer between grandparents to kids because of those breaking of family. And there are a lot of and also a lot of at that time a lot of people weren't proud to be Native, right? Like, and they didn't want to practice this stuff. But there's a whole new generation of young people that want to learn, of young Indigenous people that are saying, I want to learn this, but they don't have anybody in their immediate vicinity that they can learn from. So what Manitoba Mucklucks is doing through these schools is bringing in these master muckluck makers, like Roberta Anderson, who's a local artist. She's originally from Saskatchewan. I'm wearing a pair of her earrings right now.
Okay.
She's an incredible artist, and she is going to be teaching the school for the second year. And it's a chance for the urban Aboriginal people to learn and to hopefully pass it on to their kids. So kind of bringing that full circle and being able to give them that opportunity.
So tell us about this pop-up school that's going to be taking place soon.
Well, it's happening next week on the 5th of October at the Wabano Health Center up on Montreal Road. And it's going to be about 20 hours, so about 6 weeks. These people coming together and learning right from pattern making all the way to the finished product, so beading and everything.
Really?
And it's gonna be Roberta and her daughter Steph that are gonna do it.
Wow. So sorry, what days is this taking place on?
Well, it's happening on I think it's Wednesday the 5th, and it'll be happening every Wednesday.
So it's Wednesdays.
Yeah, the Wednesdays.
Okay.
Yeah. And
go ahead.
But if people are interested but I don't know if this class is filled up. It may not be filled up. You can contact Wabano itself, or you can go online at www.manitoba with an H on the end .ca/storyboot school, and there's a way that you can sign up for the next round. Okay.
Is it difficult though to make a muckluck? Is it a challenge?
It is very hard. Everybody looks at me and goes, "Why? Can you make these?" I'm like, no. I'm a very good supporter of muckluck making artists. I have to sit down. Like Roberta keeps saying, you need to sit down and actually learn how to make these, because I keep launching these schools, but I never get a chance to actually take the full course. I know how to bead. I actually grew up beading, and I grew up doing porcupine quill work. And my mom made us learn it. And we used to sell it to crafts, like art stores downtown, and it helped me pay for part of my water polo career and actually helped me onto the Olympics.
That's pretty impressive. Yes, I did make a note about your Olympics, and I didn't want to bring that up, of course. Right?
No, but the thing is, this isn't like these young people being able to learn this art. you never know, they might become a world-class artist, a mukluk making artist. And we do, through our Storyboot project, we do support these artists when they become these master levels like Roberta, and we sell their work worldwide for art prices. So she gets about $1,200 for a pair of mukluks, and she gets 100% of the proceeds.
Wow.
Yeah.
So her as an artist, though, how long would it take her if she sat down and made a pair of mukluks?
Well, you know, I always tell people from the very beginning to the end of a mukluk, so that includes the hunting and then the brain tanning and the smoking and then the art actually making, it's about 100 hours. So depending on how intricate the beadwork and how intricate it is, it could be, you know, 40 hours of work. It's a lot of work, and to do it perfectly. And if you meet Roberta, and if we can maybe, you know, come down and see her at this school, she's a perfectionist.
Yeah.
And that's what makes her a great teacher.
Well, I can imagine, because as we look at these boots at one more time, these mukluks, I mean, you do see the attention to detail with the beadwork, and that does not look easy.
It's not easy.
Looks like a challenge.
It's a challenge, and it's interesting because this mukluk is 50 years old, about 50 years old.
Incredible.
And a lot of people don't realize where beadwork comes from. Beads actually came with trade. Prior to contact with Europeans, we didn't have beads. We used to embellish our clothing through shells and porcupine quills, and then beads were introduced through trade, and then we just like ran with it and became like experts at it. Now we're world renowned for our beadwork.
Yeah. Oh, it's beautiful. Obviously, one of the things that you're hoping to accomplish is not only to keep this tradition alive, but to every different walk of life. Come on in, everybody gets to know each other, you know, and we can all just get along.
One of the great byproducts of these schools that we didn't intend, I mean, it is about building that knowledge base within Indigenous people, but we had some non-Native people, and at Carleton we had a school last year where some of the professors made it part of their course requirements, and so we had about half and half Indigenous, half non-Indigenous, and these non-Indigenous people were from around the world. And it reminded me of, you know, when I was young and watching my aunties and people sit down and do beadwork and share stories and gossip and everything. Well, I walked in the room and I saw all these people from different walks of life doing the same thing, sharing where they were from, what they hoped, helping each other out, laughing, joking, and at the end celebrating this great, beautiful piece of art that they created. And it's
amazing.
It's a really nice, not aggressive way of reconciliation. It's those little stitching together of our relationships that are going to make this country a lot stronger.
I love that. That was a strong way to end this segment.
Thank you.
If you want more details, of course, you can go to manitoba.ca with an H on the end. Juanique, thank you so much for joining us today.
My pleasure.